Dr. Jonathan Tripp, being a wise guy during the break. Actually, we were just talking about wisdom.
That's right. And IQ tests. Yeah.
IQ test. It's 8:34. We're at 44. Tripp Family Medicine, of course, located here in Twin Falls on Fillmore Street on the north side of the city. And we want to remind people life's too short not to feel good. In fact, feeling better about yourself is really a lot of what we're talking about this morning.
Yeah. In fact, it really is. The title I gave it is "What Makes Us Happy," or not what makes us happy, what makes us feel good. And so we had an article that Bill shared with me over the past week about depression and diet and how that influences. And I just took that to a whole different level, saying, well, what are the things that make us feel good?
I
So,
like that because it had a picture of a watermelon, and I just bought a watermelon.
all right, well, we're off to summertime. I love it. We really have some fun in this topic because a lot of people, we've been going through our winter, and again today we got the high clouds and not exactly, tropical weather with sunshine and beaches, which we don't have a whole lot of beaches, I guess. Um, so I can't just say everybody can feel better, feel good because they can all be on a beach somewhere. I have pictures of that on my computer, so sometimes just looking at that makes me think I'm feeling better. But what we have today is really things that everybody can do, and it's interesting because the there's quite a bit to this. So a big question I want to throw out there first of all is: are we just victims of circumstance?
Hmm.
Because a lot of us kind of say there, well, woe is me, and there's nothing I can do, and the truth is, there's a lot of bad circumstances. Whether it's your actual genetics. I mean, I have people in my office all the time that far outdo me on their physical exercise and health and their weight loss, and they look good, they're doing all the right things, and they still have high cholesterol or something that genetically just comes from the family background, and so we learn to fight that through other means, but they are doing kind of all they can. So I don't want to say that there's everything can be overcome, but the truth is there's a lot of things. There's the author of Chicken Noodle Soup for the Soul talked about people who had had abusive parent backgrounds, had had other major life trials that really can put them in a hole. And it sounds very callous, but his point of view, having had a similar background, was everybody has something like that. And so his response to that is, so what? Move on. And that's easier said than done, but
Right.
there is a lot of truth to that, saying we gotta let go of these things that are reasons for not feeling good and not feeling happy. And so whether it's family or habits we've developed, a lot of people say, well, it has to do with my financial or socioeconomic status. Um, they are influences. In fact, studies that talk about how people feel better through diet will often point to those that are, wealthier have an easier time of getting a hold of better food, and that there is truth to that. But the studies go on further to say if you adjust for age, you adjust for income, all these other factors, the bottom line is everybody can actually make changes in simple things in their diet and actually feel better. So we're going to talk a lot about diet on that today, but also want to hit some other things that are just general mood and energy boosters, things you can do that are simple, good for you. They're not illegal drugs. So we have a lot of things we can do for inexpensive.
You referenced the genetics, and my eyesight. I have a lazy eye, and as it turns out, I had a great uncle on one side of the family who had one, and a grandmother on the other side of the family. And I had someone tell me at the eye doctor's one time, he said, "Were any of them of Irish ancestry?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "So that it's a genetic thing that sometimes you see from people in certain parts of the world that I have." And I was bothered by that for years and years and years as a kid growing up with thick glasses. But then when you're an adult, you realize, all right, a lot of other people have
Bigger issues.
bigger issues,
Yeah.
and just about everybody has some issue in life,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, you really realize the playing field has been leveled.
Yeah, we often it's tough to focus outside of ourselves, but that right there is one of the biggest things about how to feel good today is to look to help somebody else, whether it's a small act of service or simply just identifying, somebody else's problem or their struggle is much greater than your own. That alone helps you be feel gratitude and feel better. It changes your mood. So that's not even food or vitamins or exercise. Those are other things we're going to talk about. But it honestly, if you want to feel better right now, look for a service opportunity and or find somebody who could use a little bit of your help. And maybe you can't do a whole lot, but even writing a note, that doesn't take a lot of physical exercise. You can make a difference for somebody else, and guess who benefits the most actually? And this is not my personal opinion, although it is. This is actually borne out by medical studies to show your mood, your level of depression, your physical well-being changes when you actually step outside yourself and serve others.
We got more coming up with Dr. Jonathan Tripp. It's 20 minutes from 9 o'clock.
Go to
Dr. Jonathan Tripp in the studio with us this morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. It's Better Health with Tripp Family Medicine. We're at 45. Bill Colley along with you and answering the telephones, number being 208-736-0300. And we're talking about wellness, but really how it all relates to
feeling good.
Feeling good, and a lot of it dealing with things like diet and other things you can change in your life too. Sometimes a wholesale lifestyle change that comes along that people do. I worked with a guy years ago named John Leslie. John Leslie looked like a great big carbon copy of Raymond Burr with a big thick beard, and he shaved his beard and stopped eating chicken wings and ended up becoming a long distance runner at the age of 60, and
Wow.
it totally altered his approach to life.
There's an inspiration starting at 60.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people will say, well, I'm already 42. I can't change my habits. There's a perfect example that things do change. I'm going to throw out some topics of mood and energy boosters. One I think all of us here will relate to is sunshine. In fact, we like it so much we go out and fry ourselves in the first couple of days that it shows up, April or May. So be careful as you move towards our real spring. But vitamin D is part of that feel good of the sunshine because your skin actually converts the rays from the sun into vitamin D, and it is a mood elevator. We can do that also with supplements over the counter. I am a big promoter of vitamin D, so one side of me says everybody should go do it because almost everybody in Twin Falls and the Magic Valley area are low in their vitamin D. On the other hand, it is a vitamin that you can get too much of. It is fat soluble, not like your vitamin C or vitamin B that are water soluble that you just, as long as your kidneys are good, you pee those out. But the vitamin D will build up over time. So going crazy is not the right idea. If you want to do that, come see me and we'll do some blood tests so that we're doing this a little more academically and safely. The only other caution I have about vitamin D is if you've ever had stones, in particular kidney stones, but probably even gallstones, you want to be careful because vitamin D is a great contributor to building bones and sometimes stones. So, you got to be careful with some of the things we do. I love natural things. I like supplements, but there's cautions that go along with almost all of them. So vitamin D, sunshine. Sunshine feels good. You're warmer. You get the brightness. It actually permeates through your eyes, even if they're closed. And there is a whole. The feeling of warmth is beyond just being warm. There is a change in actually how you feel.
It's different than just a lot more daylight we have in the spring than we had in the winter. When I look out the window on a Saturday morning and I see the sun versus clouds,
there's an emotional response, isn't there? Yeah.
Truly, yeah.
Yep. No, in fact, that's without even getting the actual sun exposure. So sunshine is a biggie. The vitamin D. One of the things a lot of people kind of discount is a small amount of exercise. You do not have to be in the gym all day long or out on the track all day long to benefit from mood changes that are part of exercise. If you can do brisk walking, anything that kind of makes you huff and puff for about 10 to 20 minutes is enough to elevate your mood all day long because of what it changes in your brain. Your brain actually releases what I'll call feel good chemicals. We often talk about endorphins. And this is the same type of response in a very healthy way that often we get from sugars or caffeine, things that will affect and change your brain, nicotine. I've just brought up some negatives, but the truth is that brief exercise really makes a difference in not just your physical well-being, but your mood. And so exercise would be a big one, and most people get this if they do a few days in a row. They start to really understand, hey, a little bit goes a long way. Whereas before they quote take up their exercise program, they actually are running low, down, kind of a depressed mood, and it's non anti motivational. And once they get over that hump of saying I'm going to start a little bit, they actually immediately feel better within a few days. So exercise, I can't emphasize enough, and do what you can. And if you're already doing some, push it a little more. Improve.
I had a friend of mine from work and I moved some furniture last week, and when we were done, I mean, within about 10 minutes afterwards, I got that little bit of a high that you get when
Okay.
you're doing some labor like that.
Yeah, yeah, it was just the physical labor. And I brought up helping somebody else service. Maybe you got a double whammy out of that one.
Yeah.
So those all work. So some other things that you can do that are really easy. We talked about vitamin D. Vitamin C and B12 and B complex are all water soluble. Unless you have bad kidney function, they're really hard to cause yourself any trouble with. So those are easy ones to do as a supplement that are good for your immune system and general energy levels. So often, if I'm treating somebody for depression or we'll just say a depressed mood, using those vitamins is often a incremental improvement in the mood almost immediately. So there's some vitamins you can do there. Um, some other this could be a whole topic in itself, but changing what's going on in your brain from your routine, whether it's physically doing something new or investigating something new, whether it's something you just would like to know something about, or potentially a new business activity, some new hobby that you're looking into. The act of just researching that, reading about it, investigating that changes and stimulates what's going on in your brain and it elevates your mood as well. So the doing something new, investigating something new, it activates your mind and changes that mood and improves that as well. So there are some things that, and it helps fight Alzheimer's and dementia. So, there's a lot of benefits to finding something new. And truth is the Alzheimer's topic I could get off on a long ways, but even memorization of simple poems or, verses of scripture, that memorization is a skill that changes what's going on in your brain as well.
I,
Activates new neurons.
whenever I go to a new place, whether it be Ogden, Salt Lake City, Helena, I like to go see all the museums, and I find that walking through one of these museums is stimulative, whether it be an air museum, a history museum, a rail museum. I get through there, and all of a sudden, I don't I won't call it a physical high, but I feel a lot better when I get through
Yeah,
with these visits.
interesting. Yeah, because I mean, if you took me to a shopping center and made me walk around and look at the clothing racks for an hour, I'm already fatigued. Other people, they go into that and they come out all charged up. So it does have to be something that your brain or you personally have some interest in. So all those different museums for Bill, that's a good move. That's stimulating your brain. So I think that's a great idea. So we're going to move to what you can do today, tomorrow, the next day with food. And I categorized food into two areas. There's a food that does give brief bursts of energy, brief improvements in mood, and then there's more of a sustained energy, increased positive mood overall. And they're kind of different directions. In fact, the brief boosts are often the things that we talk about poor health related. They are things like your sugar, your caffeine. I brought up nicotine, although you wouldn't say that's a food substance. These are things that give us a an immediate um, boost. Our love affair with coffee fits right into that. Coffee has lots of actual, I'll call it fun, but there's quite a few effects that coffee has. But the main effect that we're mostly looking for is our caffeination, our stimulation. It not only does increase your heart rate and your blood pressure and your energy to that extent, temporarily, it stimulates your gut. And so a lot of people get into the routine of, I don't have bowel movements unless I'm having my morning coffee. So, there are some things that the coffee stimulates and does well with, but it's very temporary. And sure enough, within an hour or two later, you may be looking for more. And so that's along with the sugar. I'll go to what I think is probably my worst choice, and that is, a Twinkie. Not too many of us are living on Twinkies, but that's the perfect combination of sugar and fat and preservatives. And I mean, I used to be taught when I was a kid growing up, if you eat Twinkies, you won't have to be embalmed, when you
Probably true because they
so
last forever.
yeah, something along those lines. So, but the point is you eat a Twinkie, your brain goes, "Ooh, I like that." Your body says, "Ooh, that's kind of good," because we are geared to look for fat and also sugar as an energy source to supply us in times of famine. So, anything like that. I grew up. My family, the big deal was, chocolate cake and hot fudge sundaes. So those are beautiful, immediate endorphin stimulating, mood elevating foods with a crash that comes afterwards. And that crash actually takes you to a lower level than you were before. So, you go back and you try to repeat the cycle because you felt better, while you ate it or right after you ate it,
Mhm.
but then you crash. So that's a bad roller coaster cycle that I'm trying to say that's not your better choice. Sustained energy and positive mood really comes from, and this is going to almost sound trite, but we've really gotten into this trend of looking for whole foods, things that aren't heavily processed, as fresh as we can get them. And being in an agricultural area, I am an absolute proponent of this, and I think the people of this area are all about that. And I think it's beautiful because I have not become I lived in Oregon for about a year, and I did not become the full-fledged, granola. But I did learn quite a few things that are beneficial from a health point of view, mood point of view. And I will tell you the simple way for me to tell you about this is if you can get things that are whole foods as fresh as you can get them, especially if they're coming from a source that you feel like they're um, term, common term right now is cleaner foods. These are going to promote better health for you in general. And then on top of that, a lot of us have trouble with what's going on with our intestines and our stomachs, and a lot of that can be changed by simply really trying to intensify. Um, it's the intestinal flora. And what I'm talking about, a lot of people call probiotics. There's a what is called kefir, which is really a milk derivative. If you think of the Little Miss Muffet story and curds and whey, this is the curds part of the curds and whey, and it's loaded with gut-friendly bacteria. And what we find is guts work better when they are loaded with things that should be there versus the things that shouldn't be there. And so, how do we improve that gut? Well, we try to do foods that are as fresh and as healthy and as whole as we can get them. So we're eliminating a lot more of processing, a lot more of salts and fats and preservatives. And then if you can add in, whether it's live culture yogurt, we have our local Chobani manufacturer. They need to send me a check because I just brought up their name.
Yes.
But the live culture yogurt is a beautiful way to supplement what's going on in your gut and try to move towards better health there. You can take capsules or pills that are probiotics. I'll tell you that they talk in billions of units, and what these really are is friendly bacteria. And your gut, your stomach acid destroys probably 80 to 90% of what you're taking, but that gets through gets a chance to grow and take over the lining of your intestines and makes them function better.
I had a friend when he was late 30s, early 40s, started eating yogurt for breakfast, good yogurt, because a
Uh-huh.
lot of this stuff is just filled with sugar. But he was eating good yogurt, and he said that within a matter of a few weeks, he felt it was a life changer for him because of how he felt, and digestive issues went away, and he just said he was much better off after that.
What I've seen is people that have chronic um, diarrhea in particular, but all kinds of cramping, going between diarrhea or constipation. If I can get them to kind of twice a day do some type of a probiotic, they often within a month are doing much better. And that's you'd say, well, that's not even really a medicine, and the answer is I'm okay with that. What I'm trying to do is get you back to a foundation that really says, you know, my intestines are working well because they're happy instead of they're fighting what's inside of them already. And a big part of that is what we eat. So uh, the article that we base some of the diet discussion on talks about 1914. A medical journal is called the Medical Record Journal of Medicine and Surgery, and there's a quote by a doctor at that time that says, "The control of man's diet is readily accomplished, but mastery over his intestinal bacterial flora is not." Well, we now have availability that we know of to put good things in there, but at the time, he called it an auto intoxication. In other words, what we're eating that's bad, it really causes trouble. And he says the proof is the symptoms of malaise, total lack of ambition, so that every effort in life is a burden, mental depression, often bordering upon melancholia. So this is, you know, his statement is correct, but he actually was proposing a battle against bacteria in the gut. So this is prior to any antibiotics. Penicillin didn't come out till 1940.
Your contact information.
Oh, for Tripp Family Medicine, we are at right across from the post office on Fillmore Street, up on the north side of town. Our phone number is 208 933 4400. That's 208 933 4400. And absolutely, you can reach us on our website, which is trippfamilymedicine.com. Lots of good information. And I want to push out, well, you can reach us on Facebook at Tripp Family Medicine. But I also want to make sure everybody knows we have a wonderful female practitioner, Lauren, who is very smart and awesome.